You've felt this before. You decide something in your life needs to change, and this time it isn't impulsive or emotional. You've thought about it long enough to know the current version of you can't stay the same. The decision feels clear. For a few days, everything aligns. Your energy sharpens. Your focus tightens. You act differently. You speak differently. You can almost feel the future version of yourself becoming real. It feels possible, close, almost inevitable. And then, something shifts. Nothing dramatic collapses. There is no visible failure and no obvious rejection. But internally, the intensity softens. The urgency fades just enough to make postponing feel reasonable. Most people call this a motivation problem. They assume they didn't want it badly enough, so they push harder. They add structure, pressure, discipline. For a short time, that works. But underneath the effort, something else is happening. Your brain is not only predicting who you are, it is also predicting what kind of future is realistic for you. Every time you imagine a bigger life, more visibility, more responsibility, more success, the brain quietly compares it to past evidence. If the gap feels too large, the future does not feel inspiring. It feels improbable. And the brain is wired to invest less energy in what it believes is unlikely. So sometimes what feels like laziness is actually low prediction confidence. The brain is asking, is this future believable for someone like me? If the answer feels uncertain, motivation drops automatically. Not as sabotage, as efficiency. Your brain is constantly managing resources. Attention and energy are expensive. It prefers to invest them in futures that feel statistically consistent with your past. This is why visualization alone often fails. If the imagined future is too far from your internal evidence, the brain treats it like fiction. Useful for a moment, not trustworthy for action. Your brain does not evaluate change based on how logical it is. It evaluates change based on whether it feels familiar and safe compared to past experience. If an action does not match your internal self-model, the brain treats it as uncertain. It tolerates it, but it does not integrate it easily. This is the part most people never see. The brain prefers familiar patterns over unfamiliar upgrades, even when the upgrade could improve your life. Think about someone who has always seen themselves as not confident. They decide they are going to speak up more and stop shrinking themselves. The first time they do it, it feels bold. The second time, it feels slightly uncomfortable. By the third time, there is subtle tension in the body, a quiet replay of what they said. Externally, nothing is wrong. Internally, the nervous system is alert. That alertness is not incompetence. It is the brain comparing new behavior to old predictions. Beneath conscious awareness, the system asks, is this consistent with who we are? If the answer feels uncertain, it does not attack the behavior. It simply allocates less energy to it. Energy drops slightly. Focus becomes fragile. The behavior begins to feel heavier than it logically should. You start negotiating with yourself. This is why discipline feels exhausting when your self-model has not updated yet. You are not just performing a new action. You are acting against accumulated evidence your brain has stored over years. And here is another layer most people never consider. Sometimes the resistance is not protecting you from failure. It is protecting your sense of belonging. Growth can shift social dynamics, and the brain is deeply wired to protect social safety. When you evolve, you do not only change internally, you potentially change how others relate to you. That calculation happens instantly, long before you consciously think about it. Your sense of identity functions as a reference point for what feels normal. It influences what level of success feels tolerable, what level of visibility feels safe, and what level of responsibility feels stable. When you attempt to exceed that internal reference point, the brain registers instability. Instability can feel like risk, even when the outcome is objectively better. This is why resistance often appears at the exact moment you are moving forward. It does not show up as dramatic fear. It shows up as subtle friction, sudden fatigue, procrastination without explanation, losing emotional connection to something you still logically want. From the outside, this looks like inconsistency. From the inside, it is regulation. Two people can follow the same plan with the same intention. One begins to feel natural in the new behavior within days. The other feels tense, slightly misaligned, almost like they are pretending. The difference is not character. It is whether the action aligns with or contradicts their existing self-model. When behavior feels like expression, the brain automates it. When behavior feels unfamiliar, the brain requires more effort to sustain it. That resistance is not loud. It is persistent. It slowly erodes enthusiasm until the behavior dissolves. Not because the goal was wrong, but because it was not yet integrated. Identity is not just a belief. It is a stable prediction built from memory and repeated experience. It is the accumulated evidence of who you have been. Every repeated reaction strengthens it. When you attempt to change, you are not just fighting a habit. You are updating stored predictions about yourself. And the brain updates those predictions slowly. Not through intensity, not through emotional speeches. It updates through safe repetition, through experiences that feel predictable and non-threatening. That process feels underwhelming, which is why people abandon it too early. Real change happens when imagination and evidence begin to match. When your system can say, "I have seen myself do something like this before," even in small ways. A slightly braver conversation, a boundary you held, a decision you made differently than usual. These moments look insignificant. Neurologically, they are data. They update probability. They tell the brain, this is not fantasy, this is becoming normal. And normal is what the brain trusts. The moment your self-model begins to shift is subtle. The internal question changes from, is this who I am, to, this is like me. When that shift happens, effort changes texture. The same behavior that once felt forced begins to feel natural. The same action that required negotiation becomes automatic. Growth stops feeling like climbing against gravity. It feels coherent. It feels aligned. It feels like continuation, not reinvention. So if you are in the messy middle right now, where effort feels heavier than expected and motivation comes and goes, you are not broken. You are updating. You are in the neurological transition between who you were and who you are becoming. And transitions are unstable by nature. But they are also where change is most possible. If this helped you understand your resistance differently, take a moment to support the channel. Like the video, subscribe, and share it with someone who might need to hear this. Because once you recognize how your brain quietly protects the old version of you, you stop fighting yourself blindly. And that is where real, lasting change begins.